Network Entertainment.
This is brought to you by Meralco.
Hello, listeners. Hello, everyone in PR and communications. Welcome to the Pioneer PRSP YouthCon in a podcast. This is Breaking Down the Buzz, and I am your host, Rochelle Gamboa, Crisis Management Head of SM Supermalls. Do you know that you're part of history? If you're listening to this podcast, yes, you are. The PRSP YouthCon in a podcast is the first of its kind in the communications industry. Breaking Down the Buzz is in partnership with the Pod Network. This collaboration really shows how the different entities work together to create innovative ideas to reach more students and young professionals. By using platforms like podcasts, PRSP and the Pod Network deliver learnings to a wider audience. Breaking Down the Buzz is a 12-part podcast series that tackles one different topic every podcast. The 12 topics are designed to be relevant to students and practitioners of PR and communications. The discussion is current and fresh, and the talk points are direct, easy to digest, and very useful for school or your current work. In short, suitable for all you young listeners and best for all ages, right? So without further ado, let's get started. Today, our podcast is on crisis communications and disaster management. No? My, we have with us Miss Abigail Mendoza, the head of digital communications and content services of Meralco, or the Manila Electric Company, and I will join her being the head of crisis management for SM Supermas. Abby,
Hi, Miss Rochelle.
don't call me, just call me Shell.
Hi, Shell.
Yes, that's more comfortable.
Okay.
How did you get into PR and communications?
Okay. Actually, my first job is not as a PR communications girl. It's actually I'm a writer, writer, researcher, producer for entertainment shows.
Wow.
Yeah. It's for showbiz news, talk shows, for GMA. So I was writing scripts. I was doing interviews with celebrities. I was doing research in magazines, via magazines. So and then it was we were writing VTR scripts. We
That
were
sounds
doing
like a lot of
interviews.
fun.
Yes,
And you did it
it's
for how
really
many
for
years?
5 years. It's really a good first job. Really, sobrang ano siya. It's a something that uh, really fresh graduates can learn a lot from because you meet a lot of people, and then yung discipline actually to be in media it's really incomparable. Talagang you really have to i-inculcate talaga yung hard work, determination to get stories,
Hmm.
to be able to interview a lot of people, and yung approach them with the questions that you have in mind.
My first job was also with the media. Print naman. It
Yes.
was with one of the major broadsheets. Pero
Ah,
wala na siya ngayon, no? Because
okay.
everything has transitioned to digital and not a lot of newspapers were able to successfully transition to that channel.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, you're right. It is a good exposure. I covered
Yes.
business. I covered to be exact, the young kids wouldn't be able to relate to this. It was called the Philippine Commission on Good Government. So it was a recovery of a so-called ill-gotten wealth, no,
Okay.
during the administration of President Corazon Aquino. Natagal na. I've dated myself. Anyway, it was a very good experience because I get to go on field and cover stories, political and business stories, even defense stories sometimes when I'm
Yes.
assigned to the defense beat. And I had to write, and there's a quota of number of stories. So it forces you into the practice, the
Mm-hmm.
habit of developing a story in your head and then writing it down while you're interviewing, you're developing the story in your head, and you have to write
Yes.
down the story in 30 minutes because there's a deadline.
Mm-hmm.
Diba? And
And the
The
accuracy,
reward.
di ba? Kailangan lahat ng mga details ma-accurate because it's gonna be on
Exactly.
print.
Exactly. Yeah, making sure
Mm-hmm.
that the your facts are straight, because once it's printed, you
Mm-hmm.
cannot take it back.
Yes. After GMA, I went to advertising. So I was in Macan World Group, but not as a creative naman. I worked as a corporate communications. So I'm PR-ing the agency technically. So all the work that we've been doing for our clients. So that's what I did before I went to Meralco for full-on corporate public relations, media relations function.
How long have you been with Meralco?
I'm almost 10 years on November this month.
Wow,
November,
congratulations. 10
yes.
years. And how did you get into crisis communications? Is it a specialized role in Meralco, or is it part of your function as a PR and communications?
Um, it was under Public Information Office, the corporate communications team, and then under it is Public Information Office, wherein we deal with media and other external stakeholders. But there's no really like a set. An organizational structure wherein we have a crisis communications team. It's just really part of the whole function of Meralco, and it's something talagang we parang every day it's something we face crisis communications talaga, especially for a utility company wherein we cover like the whole of Metro Manila and all other surrounding areas. So every day we like expect to have one thing or another that we consider like a crisis, like for example a power outage or a monthly rate adjustment is especially if increased siya, so how we manage it. It's really part of the whole function of how we communicate
Mm-hmm.
and uh, translate it to uh, communications that our audience can understand because it's very technical industry pa.
How many subscribers do you have?
We have around 7.7 million customers. But that's just the number of account holders. Ha. For every account holder, there's like four or five um, families in those in living
Hmm.
in the for every account. Parang uh, equate mo pa siya with four more.
So that's 28 million potential risks you're facing
Yes.
every day. In the case of SM Supermalls, we have 85 malls today around the Philippines. And at any given time, there are 3.5 to 5 million people in our
Uh-huh.
malls.
Yeah.
So, and the crisis can even happen even after the mall closes. No? So,
Yes.
it's also a day-to-day reality we have to deal with
Mm-hmm.
some malls. But I'm sure the nature of the crisis for the both of us differ. In the case of SM Supermalls, the crisis management team is a separate group.
Yes.
No? So we handle well, we'll discuss later what kinds of crisis do we actually handle. But perhaps our listeners will be interested to know in Meralco, what are the different kinds of
Crisis that
crisis
we
do you
deal
handle
with.
every day?
As mentioned, actually the basic talaga po that we handle, that the basic issues that we really monitor on a daily basis is supply, prices, and service.
Mm-hmm.
So it supply affects prices. So whenever we issue, diba, like statements on there's a supply gap right now happening in the Philippines right now. So pagka nawalan, it's the law of supply and demand naman, di ba? So when supply goes up, when supply goes down, talagang the prices will go up. So that's what we try to explain on a daily basis to our customers kasi they still think that Meralco is actually the only electricity entity that when you pay your bills, all of your money goes to Meralco. But actually, it's not. So meron pa siyang power supply chain. That's where Meralco is at the end na. So we have the power generators and then we have the transmission grid before they actually go to Meralco. So only like 20% of what you pay in your electricity goes to Meralco. So all the others are remitted to other external stakeholders.
What was the first crisis you handled?
That actually is related to that one when I came in kasi there was talagang yung PR values that we have in Meralco. It's one of our KPIs kasi for reputation management. It's really all red. Kasi when we conducted research, we found out that our audience were not aware that Meralco is really just a distributor. They think when you say electricity or when you say bills, it's really all Meralco. So that's what we tried to address, and we came up with a Meralco advisory campaign. So it's actually aimed to educate the customers on the bill breakdown and the power supply chain. So
So
it's
it's
been 10 years running.
so it's more like issues management of the
Yes.
customer reactions.
Yes.
Our traditionally crisis communications or disaster management was focused on man-made or
Mm-hmm.
natural disasters. These days, we have to take into consideration also the digital crisis like fake
Yes.
news and crisis about mental health.
Mm-hmm.
At the most, we have cases of suicide attempts.
In
Favorite nila yung most. I wish they
yes.
didn't choose the most, but actually, the 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 good thing about SM is that the frontliners are trained to handle these
Mm-hmm.
cases. So the other day we had this guy who was able to access an area that was supposed to be off limits, but it was adjacent to the parking, and he was able to go to the ledge. Fortunately, one of our security guards was able to spot him
Mm-hmm.
and radioed the emergency response team right away. The emergency response team contacted right away the PNP, and they were able to successfully recover the customer, meaning they were able to save him. The story behind it is that he was so desperate because the wife left him
Oh.
and was gonna take the daughter with him. So with her, no. So um we didn't have to communicate or issue an official
Mm-hmm.
statement unless it was covered by the media. But I'm very proud that SM for its part was very well prepared. I think um with the it takes a lot of preparation
Mm-hmm.
also on the ground,
Yes.
um from the C suite, from the chief executive officers all the way down to the frontliners. The steps that you take to come up with a crisis management
Protocol.
plan or a
Yes.
crisis communications plan can also be a challenge by itself. How does Meralco prepare for its own crisis communication program plan? Or is there a policy in place, or procedures that you follow every time?
Um, Actually, I think it really starts with the C-suite, as you mentioned, ma'am. We have a risk management committee on a board level. So we get to identify all the possible risks within the organization, and we monitor that closely as part of the Corpcom team. So we are really we're part of the committee, and we also closely monitor each and every one of those risks because we understand that any one of that, even if it's a financial risk or a regulatory risk or an operational risk, especially kunyari may mga nagtumbahang mga poste or may mga linyang bumagsak, all of them really impacts on reputation.
Take us through the process. For example, may natumba. During a typhoon, may natumba na poste. Take us through the process of how do you do how you manage the situation.
Well, in cases of a typhoon, what we do is, well, we get updates from our networks team on weather, especially when may parating na mga typhoon. So we get updates from them. We have a BCM in place in terms of operations, and in terms naman of media management and communications, we actively communicate tips, safety tips for our customers on the typhoon, and then our preparations.
This is
We
before the
Yes, before the typhoon hit actually our area, we coordinate with the billboard owners to take down the billboards because it really affects lines and poles. What if they topple down, they affect our facilities also. And then during the storm, well, we also give out tips. So before, during, and after. After naman, we really help communicate our restoration efforts, especially if yung area namin is affected. And then if hindi naman affected, and then there are other areas outside Meralco that are nagkaroon ng mga malawakang outages, we also go out of our way to also assist in the restoration, because Meralco, as the biggest power distribution utility, has the means. So we also try to assist.
you mentioned BCM. This is the business continuity management, which is a
Yes.
very important aspect of crisis management because this pertains to how do we get back to business as soon as
Even
possible
yes.
after the
Even
crisis
during
incident, no? So you were talking about the C-suite being involved, and then you have the C-suite.
yeah.
We have the emergency response team to
Mm-hmm.
handle the incidents on the ground, whether it is a simple electrocution of a Christmas from a Christmas lights, or a an escalator or elevator malfunctioning. We have they know what to do already, so they are able to respond under an hour and resolve the issue under an hour. And for communications, we monitor what's
Mm-hmm.
happening on the ground, whether there's a need to send a media official statement for that or not. And if we do, our process is very clear that we just clear it with a straight to the president.
Mm-hmm.
Wala nang ibang intermediaries but straight
Yes.
to the president. And it's in a policy. It's in the policy. It's already in the policy, that kind of process. And we distribute it to if we do have to release it, each of our 85 malls have their own Facebook page, TikTok page,
Mm-hmm.
IG, and some of them have even, SM Cares, for example, has a Viber community group. So now, if we have to send it out, it's very easy for us to do so because we have 25 to 30 million followers on all of these 85 accounts across all different platforms. In the case of Meralco, how do you distribute your official statements if you need to?
Well, all all media pertaining, all communications that are released to media are actually centralized on the corporate communications group. And then we also coordinate closely with marketing. They're the ones kasi, who are in charge of distributing comms materials to the different business
Stakeholders.
centers also.
The business centers, how many do you have across the country?
I think we have around 20 plus. We only
Within the concession area.
yes, within the franchise area, which is Metro Manila and Laguna, Pampanga, some parts of Pampanga, Quezon, Cavite, and Rizal. So that's what we do. We it's really quite helpful talaga that within the organization, there's no silos. So when we need to coordinate with each other, especially pagka crisis situations, we don't any have like layers pa.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
it's really, really important din talaga that si Sweet understands the value of corporate communications, especially when disaster or crisis happens. So para direct na, di ba? So no more we have to clear with this group, or we have to
Mm-hmm.
get approvals from this from
Mm-hmm.
this group pa. So so direct from the president. Corporate communications is in that level of in the hierarchy, corporate hierarchy of Meralco. So we report directly to the president. So the president gives orders and then we implement it immediately since it's already like higher up. It's a management directive. So we don't really have to go and get like
Mm-hmm.
approvals or anything pa po.
Mm. Did you learn? I'm curious. Did you learn crisis management only from Meralco, right? Or did you get formal trainings in crisis communications or crisis management?
No. It only really from Meralco. It's really a real world experience for
Mm-hmm.
me. Before kasi yun, as I mentioned, but it's really just creative work and PR for Macan World Group is not it's not really crisis communications focused. It's really push out content. So this one talaga, this parang every day we have to be ready for any kind of
So which
crisis.
one is more fun for you? The entertainment world or the
They're both actually there are a lot of
yeah,
valuable lessons from different industries.
you enjoy also the work of crisis communications?
Yes.
In my on my for my part,
Yeah.
before I joined SM Supermalls, I was with another conglomerate
Mm-hmm.
where I was exposed to telco, to mining, and even to public transportation.
Mm-hmm.
With mining, the biggest crisis we've had was one of the biggest mining disasters in the country in recent history. So it took a lot of strategic communications, and
Yes.
it it worked for us. And even here in SM Supermalls, this is what we do. First, there's the risk assessment
Yes.
team, no, like the one you mentioned. They do we together with them. We work on the different scenarios, the
Mm-hmm.
different risk present in each department. In fact, in the transportation company where I used to work, there we got a third party to make a risk assessment for each of the
Branch.
departments,
Oh, okay.
and then we were asked to rate the risk according to how much it will impact if that happens, if that incident happens, what is the cost impact, and then what's the likelihood. So there's a risk matrix, and from the risk matrix we determine what kind of resources do we need. So it's the c-suite that actually evaluates how big the crisis management preparation will be. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not just the budget, but also the team that will comprise it, diba? Kung gaano kalaki. How big is your team?
About 15 right now. But before,
That's just for crisis communications.
that's for corporate communications.
But when a crisis happens,
When crisis hits,
how many in the team are activated?
all of us are activated, and then we also get to tap other teams, especially our regulatory group and our depends on what crisis. So we have the for regulatory issues, we tap the regulatory team, and then we also have networks team who also handles problems, especially when it comes to our facilities.
Mm. In our case, there's the crisis management team has first the mancom,
Mm-hmm.
which gives a strategy on how to respond, provides the budget for response and the budget for recovery, and then there's the support group, which provides legal, IT, in the marketing, the PR group. And then the last would be the ones who are the tactical guys, the frontliners who respond to the incident, which are mostly mall operations, so security, medical,
Mm-hmm.
and the mall operations heads. No, so
We
they pass on the information to us. We get it approved, and then the mancom provides naman the resources to respond to the issue. And then there's also, after determining how big the team would be and who would be in the crisis management team, there's also the need to develop a crisis management plan. No,
mm-hmm.
so the development itself also involves different departments, right? It's the same case with you, right?
For crisis development plan, for communications per se, this is really under us. But there is also our social media team, which is also embedded in marketing. So they're the ones in charge of. They have this social media crisis playbook, which we adhere to also. and then we also have our own crisis management playbook for media. So there are like different playbooks for different situations.
Mm-mm, correct. And then even up to the down to the template for each
Yes.
kind of crisis,
Yeah.
no?
We have
Do you also have drills and trainings?
yes, we regularly conduct like media trainings, especially for um, our executives because they're usually the ones being asked. Media directly goes to our executives, so how they should be interacting with media, how to answer, and
Well,
even other on ground personnel. Then
in the case of SM Supermalls, this morning we had an
yes,
earthquake drill.
okay, yeah,
So in that earthquake drill, the all the personnel involved in managing the crisis, including communications, really do mock drills.
mm-hmm.
We're playing as if there was really a earthquake. So around the country in all of supermalls at 9 a.m. this morning, an earthquake was announced. And so we have to stay in the office because we're doing the official statement. We're getting reports from the field, and then we assess the need we monitor if any customer was affected, any employee was affected,
Mm-hmm.
was there an evacuation that happened, and there are factors that look at to determine if we should come up with an official statement or not, just to assure the public that it's okay to go back to the malls, the customers are safe, the
Mm-hmm.
employees are safe.
So, ma'am, do you have like a what's do you have like a what mall in particular within the SM group is more prone to crisis?
We have data,
But
but
there, but
we
you
always
also.
assume the worst case scenario,
Mm-hmm.
which is to assume that any given day, any hour, anything can happen to each of these malls. And a lot of times there were instances that this even happened even when the malls were closed.
We're close na.
Isolated cases, but it happens, which we need to prepare for. How another another after you have developed the drills and trainings, is also another important element of an effective crisis communication plan would be the communication channels. You
Mm-hmm.
mentioned that you have the business centers, you have your media. How do
Yes.
you manage your online followers?
Well, our marketing department is actually the one handling the official Meralco Facebook page. It's
Mm-hmm.
supported by our customer care group. So they're really the ones on top of the whole page. So anyone, it's really when you go to Meralco page, kasi, but it's different for SM because SM they all like they're all happy, di ba? In the Facebook pages eh. But when you go to Meralco, you try to visit Meralco page. My God, all comments are all about, but ang taas-taas ng bill ko. Hoy, Meralco, brown out na naman sa amin.
Do
So,
you answer each
yes,
complaint?
yes, we do each and every one. Our customer care group, we have we tap we got platforms na to make sure na all of the questions and all of the concerns raised there are answered. We go offline naman with them. So parang hindi na siya public, especially kung may mga data privacy issues din kasi if they give their names, their addresses. So we PM them na lang for their details. But we do try to
That's what
answer
we
each
used
and
to.
every one.
That's what we used to do sa LRT1, which I handled no when the MVP group and the Ayala group concession took over, no. The the staff of the customer service was under the communications team, and at the time the ones who comprised the customer service were the former employees of LRT1. These were the
Mhm.
LRTA or government employees. So all they know about customer service was face to face handling
Mhm.
of complaints.
Yes.
They don't know about digital. So I really have to spend three
Yeah.
months, sit down with them to know so that they are able
To brief
to
them.
be experts on Twitter and handle each complaint. Dahil may hashtag, LRT Bulok, yung mga, all that. So, it's a good thing that we were able to turn around those sentiments, and they've come to practice. It has become a habit for LRT1 customers that they check the Twitter first.
Mm-hmm.
See how
Yes.
many
Mm-hmm.
trains today, is there a breakdown, to check the status of the trains. We made it, we made Twitter very active.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually we moved to on to developing an app, Ikot Manila app, so
Mm.
that now all your complaints are that's where they
House
raise their
there.
concerns.
Mm-hmm.
It's no longer in a public platform like Twitter or X as it is known right now.
Mm-hmm.
So all the complaints are, we have we made sure that their complaints are addressed within 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
That's a KPI I gave to the customer service team. So if it's this kind of complaint, there's also KPI of resolution for each kind of
Yes.
complaint.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's an engineering issue, at least 7 days. If it's an operational issue, within 24 hours. Yung it can be go as detailed
In
as
Meralco's
that.
case naman po, ma'am, we're regulated kasi. We're a regulated entity. So, every performance metrics talaga binabantayan
Correct.
ng government, which is
Mm-mm.
Energy Regulatory Commission.
Mm-mm.
So, for us, our performance metrics naman are duration of brownouts, the frequency of brownouts, and then we report it. So, talagang kailangan operationally, kailangan mag-perform talaga because it really the best there everyone's looking at Meralco, not just our customers but also government.
I have a very interesting question. How did a soft spoken lady like you, how do you survive crisis management, dealing with the day to day crisis issues of that you receive in Maralco?
It helps pa talaga that we have a really good leader. No, not to ano naman, to make sip-sip to my
Hi,
boss.
Joe.
But he's really the crisis management person, personified parang ganun.
Yeah, he's always calm.
Yes.
He's always calm on radio interviews, TV
Mm.
interviews.
And he
I think
knows,
it's important.
yes, and the network that he has, I think it's really very important. And he always says nga that media relations is the media strategy. So talagang he really updates his network. He goes yun lang mga old friends. He would go back to them kapag and then he gets to meet new ones. So it really helps then kasi especially in times of crisis when you have a lot of uh
Stress.
actually we had a lot of
Stressors.
friends. Yes. But he handles it naman. And then for us, me kasi I'm more on the back end. My job, my function in Corpcom is more on the back end. So
Mm-mm,
we do the
mm-mm,
strategy,
mm-mm,
and we do the messaging.
mm-mm.
He's the one talaga fronting, and
Myself
he's
as well. Myself. For mining, our spokesperson was Attorney Mike Toledo, but
yes,
we were doing the
the
back
back
end
end.
work,
Mm-hmm.
from development of, from strategy to implementation of the different tactics. And well, it's fun, and because you're always on your toes, diba?
Yes,
And it's never a dull day,
and the
diba?
learnings talaga, and the people that you meet, and the talagang the intel that you get talagang very, very valuable, especially if you really plan to advance in communications or in media. Crisis experience in crisis really opens up a lot of kailangan mo na maging creative, kailangan mo maging resourceful, kailangan mo maging agile because what you think will happen will not happen. And talagang
Mm-mm,
you really have to be strategic.
mm-mm. So these days, what do you think are the biggest
Crisis.
crisis? I mean, in terms of the nature of crisis that you handle, because traditionally, as I mentioned, it's more operational
Mm-hmm.
or disasters.
I Well, yung force majeure and natural disasters, we don't actually consider it as crisis na for Meralco because it's BAU. Kasi
What's BAU?
it's business as usual na for us
BAU.
because talagang typhoons come
They're
and
part of the business, as you
yes,
say.
it's like an everyday thing for our networks team. So they know na what to do. Pagka mga malalaki na lang talaga pong mga typhoons, that's when we really we get on our toes and consider it as crisis. But I think right now it's at least from a communications perspective, it's
Oh,
misinformation.
same, same. Same with
Yes.
SM Supermalls. Our biggest crisis nowadays, the one with the most highest volume, would be fake news.
Yes. Diba? Kasi ang dami na ring people who peddle fake news just for I don't know, for money, for fame,
Mm,
diba? And then
for scams.
yes, for scams.
There are fake accounts
Mm.
of SM Mega Mall. And then they
Really?
get, yes,
What
they
did they do?
scam people to say that, oh, we're offering this investment.
Oh.
We have a lot of, there was one customer who cried already asking for help from us. But so what we do is we help in educating the public
Yes.
on how to spot fake news. And of course, external partnerships. We bring in external partners to
Mm-hmm.
help us. We're coming out with campaigns in different, unbranded campaigns in different platforms to help us help the public um, to be able to outsmart the peddlers of fake news.
So what do they do, ma'am, for SM? Like, do they when they choose um to create a fake account? So what
Oh,
they get?
first you can report it on the Facebook platform. Second, if there's massive impact, then you have to come with an official statement to disown these pages, diba? And then we have we use our network as well and our followers to spread the news that this is
Mhm.
fake. And and if there's a massive reporting, it will be taken down for sure. Okay. So you have any other questions for me?
Um, uh, can I ask you po also what's the biggest crisis that you've handled and
It was
um
really the mining, the one with the mining company,
okay.
where I was on my way up to the mine site.
Mm-hmm.
We were driving up to the mine site. It was raining very hard. It's been raining for 2 weeks, and when I got to the mine site, I was informed by the president. I had to call the president because there was something that happened.
Mm-hmm.
So apparently, the rain affected our dam,
Okay.
where you hold the excess water from the mines. After processing the minerals, there's excess water, so you have a tailings pond that holds that excess water. It broke because of the rain, so it flooded the waterways, the spillways, and we had to be on our toes
Mm-hmm.
24 hours, 24/7, even on weekends, to correct because there were a lot of misinformation going on.
Mm-hmm.
So we made it a
Yes.
point to come up with 2 updates in a week on operations and engineering,
Mm-hmm.
and 3 updates per week on what is going on with the communities who were affected. So how the company recovered? We always um we it's good that we had very good relationships by that time with the media.
Mm-hmm.
So they really also helped us in in um in our in educating the public
Mm-hmm.
for the corrective actions that we've done.
And it also helped, I remember, yung mga CSR activities po, no, ng
With the
mining
CSR for
group.
mining companies, they really are ongoing, crisis
Mm-hmm.
or not, crisis or none. But in this case, there was a really special program to help the affected communities recover.
Yes.
Abby, any last words before we say goodbye to our listeners?
Okay. Siguro I really like this thing that I read recently online when it comes to crisis. No, so it really helps if you have a plan in place. So all those things that we've talked about, ma'am. So we can put it on your notes, and then you can create your own communication plans, especially when it comes to crisis. And then you practice your plan. So you do a lot of workshops and media practice simulations, crisis simulations. But The third point is always remember that things always don't always go according to plan. So you always have to be ready and agile and flexible to be able to manage crisis because they don't always go as planned according to your plans.
Very well said, Abby. I just like to add that it is fun and challenging. If you like excitement, crisis communications is for you. It's not stressful if you're really prepared, as Abby just mentioned. So that's a wrap for the episode of Breaking Down the Buzz, the PRSP Youth Con in a podcast, in partnership with the Pod Network, a pioneer 12 episode series designed for students and young practitioners of PR and communications. We hope that you have learned something from this podcast. Join us for the next episode as we continue to create online discussions on the topics and touch points that matter. Thank you, Abby,
Thank you, Ms.
for
Rochelle.
this thought provoking discussion. It's a heavy hitter, but you know it deserves serious thought and can be a niche strength in corporate communications. I believe this podcast will inspire our students and young practitioners in their PR and communication careers. These learning sessions are created and organized by the Public Relations Society of the Philippines Education Community. For further information on this podcast series, visit prsp.ph. Thank you to the new channel for the speakers tokens, and wonderful surprises await lucky podcast listeners. So don't miss an episode. Find out more at prsp.ph. Finally, PRSP and the Pod Network thank all the podcast listeners. We hope we shared some value to our chosen profession of PR and communications. I'm Rochelle Gamboa, and this is Abby, wishing you to always be prepared, stay calm, and make good decisions. Take care, everyone. Bye.
The opinions of podcast creators, hosts, and guests are not necessarily reflective of the official stance of the Pod Network Entertainment, its hosts, or other network programs. The content created by the people behind the podcast is personal and not meant to harm any religion, ethnicity, group, organization, company, or individual.